everyone, it's Catherine here from Inky Fingered Cat. I'm not going to turn the video around and show you my tired looking face. This is being filmed just as I've literally finished making this one. I am going to use one of these. I'm going to say two, but actually there's three backgrounds I could be using. So check out the other video where I made this one. I'm going to now tidy up the desk a little bit, go grab a drink, and then we're going to make another one. Another card using one of those three backgrounds, but I genuinely have no idea what I'm going to do. So maybe the inspiration will strike whilst I'm going tidying up, making a drink. So I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so herbal tea is brewing. It's quite late. It's not late, but it's quite late. And I need to now determine what we're going to do with these. Or at least one of these. We're not going to determine what we're going to do with all of them. We're just going to determine what we're going to do with one of them. Now, I'm very tempted to use this stamp, which is the other one from the set. Maybe we just keep it super simple and we stamp on one of the things. But is that just really making the most of it? I mean, that's so pretty. That's gorgeous, but I think that definitely needs a die cut or something on it. This one, perhaps we could just do something with this one. And we go with the happy birthday. I'm wondering if we could make that a little bit more even masculine looking, you know, less frilly. Maybe that's the one we do. So hilariously, I started off the video on the previous video because I wanted to do this technique, and then ended up making a card not using either of those two papers, but using the one that was like the failed version, and that you can't even see the pattern that I'd created. And now I'm thinking I still don't want to use those, even though that was the technique I wanted to do. And maybe we use this and we do something with this instead. I'm wondering if I can't quite make it masculine because it's got too much of the pink in it, and it just, I don't know. Therefore, it might need more with it. And therefore, maybe some stamping around it. So no, I don't think we're doing that one today. Which brings me back to these two, but I'm sort of struggling a little bit to determine what it is I want to do with it. So last time I used those dies, maybe we just create some flowers. And we keep to the same theme. Is that a bit dull? Maybe it's a bit dull. Maybe it's a bit dull. I have got this stamp still sitting on the side, but it's definitely not big enough for that. Right. Oh, could we use part of the stamp? No, we couldn't. No, don't use that. Still saving that for a different playtime. Oh, right. Contemplating, then this is a little bit of a go-to set, but my Splendid Thoughts. Contemplating that, not for this piece. So what I'm going to do is absolutely decide that I'm working on that. I'm going to stick these two into my folder that has backgrounds already made for using it another time, and they're going to go in there. And we're going to play with this one. I think we're going to keep with the blues and the pinks. I think we might do some stamping, colouring, die cutting. We might stamp directly onto the background as well. So let's go in with, let's stop thinking and just do. That's sometimes the way that we have to do it when we're not quite sure what's going on. With our mojo, we just stop thinking, just do. And I think we're going to just do. How about that? Right, let's grab some coloured inks. Now I did this using mainly Distress inks. I'm now just going to use my normal Stampin' Up! Inks. Possibly, you might regret. This is a very curved piece of paper because it's been through that much water. Yeah, we're not really bothered about exact colour matches. I'm thinking, do we go like so? Yeah. Catherine, don't think, just do. You've just told yourself to do that. So we're going to stamp all over the background. Realised you're not getting the best of you there. Let's see if we can zoom in. That's a bit better. So you can see there where I've stamped. And this is sort of one of those kind of delicate stamps in the background kind of thing. Just going to do some off the edges to make sure that we've probably going to trim it down anyway, but that just made me feel better. Right, happy with that. That was a sweet sugar plum in terms of the colour. Now this one, what colour shall we go for this? I don't know why I'm using such a large stamp block for these small stamps. Let me grab a small one. It's better. Let's go for Wisteria Wonder. These are all retired colours. They either were in colours or they're just retired, and they were things that they did use for a while. Oh, that's nice. I like that. So we've got a couple of different patterns going on now. We've got the original with the white in the background, which is that Resist. We've got then the blue blobby ones, and then you've got the more leaf type shaped pinky ones. I think that's nice. Now, last time I went a bit mad with splatter. Might still go bad with splatter, but let's start off by doing some of the stamping of the more focal images. Now, I love this one. I'm thinking maybe Orchid Oasis, which is one of the current ink colours, would work nice. It's quite dark, that, and I'm wondering whether if I stamp it again as a second generation, that might work better. Okay, that's that one. And then I'm going to stamp this one as well, but whether I'll end up using it or not is another matter. But I think we want the pinkier colour for that. So let's go with the Rich Razzleberry, which is more of a pinky purple. So for those of you who have not watched me craft before, this is how it works, is that I make things up as I go along. There's not huge amounts of planning involved. And I usually end up with about 30,000 supplies on the side because I haven't been organised and I don't clean as I go along very often. Although Rich Razzleberry is a good one for staining your fingers for weeks, so let's get that one off that stamp. And having said I don't clean as I go along, I might as well, whilst I've got my stamp to scrub out, do those ones. Right. Now, I think we will colour these in. Yes, I think we will colour these in. I wasn't entirely sure that we would, but I now think that we will. So, what colours have we got and what do we want to use? I think we're going to use Stampin' Right markers for a change, and we're going to slightly watercolour, even though this is not watercolour cardstock. go with those, shall we? And we will scribble them onto the block like so. And then we'll find a half decent brush. My brushes are never decent because I don't look after them. Let's get some water. We'll use that. Now, we're not going to do careful colouring. As you can see, we're just going to do scribble colouring. And then we're going to go in and add a bit more towards the centre. And then because this is not watercolour cardstock, it might dry weird. But you know what we say? It's just paper, it really doesn't matter. It can go in the bin if it's rubbish. We're going to do the same here. Just give a bit of a scribble, a bit more water maybe. Drop a little bit more colour towards the middle. And these might look terrible, but we'll see what happens when we die cut them. Right, this is a Wisteria Wonder colour, so I'm not going to bother to wash out my brush too much, so it won't matter that we might still have some of that pinkier colour. It will be fine. And again, I'm just giving these a wash. It's not perhaps brilliant though. Do we like those? Don't know, maybe we do. I'm going to add a little bit of this one, which is probably, yeah, Concord Crush. That's really old colour, but I'm going to water it down quite a lot. But yeah, that was worked nicely. Okay, so might not even use that one, but I quite like it. Gonna just add the water to there, add a bit more of that Concord Crush. As you can see, I am not a colourist. That is not what I specialise in, but I do quite like doing these quite loose. And I'm just going to add a little bit of that pinky colour into here as well, because I think that sometimes that just helps bring the things together. And again, I'm going to add a bit of that blue, bluey colour into here. Again, it just brings them together a little bit if they've got some of the same colours in. Now, I'll tell you who's colouring that I really love that's like this, and it's Casa Haselden. Is that her name? Haselden, something like that. And I went to a workshop with her once. Actually, we made this, a little Bertie Bird house, which I absolutely love. But yes, I made this at that workshop. But yeah, she does some amazing colouring with like little tiny little brush strokes of all these random colours. Quite fantastical, so colourful. I love her style of that kind of colouring. Yeah, it takes a lot of practice to do things like that, and it is not something I have done a lot of stuff with. As much as I love it, I've never quite got there. Right, I am just putting those inks back on the shelves so that I've got a bit more space, and then I'm also waiting for this to sort of dry a little bit, and then I'm going to go and grab the dies, die cut them out, so I'll see you on the other side of doing that. Okay, die cutting done, and as you can see, I die cut not just the ones I had coloured, but also some that I could then use to stack them up. But before we start doing that, let's just have a little look. Which do we think works, if indeed any, on this card? Now, I think that they will work, but we need something to put them in. Now, I know that this particular die set has this sort of like strange bowl shape. I think that might work. So we'll think about doing that. And maybe it also has these sort of like more filigree type dies. Now, I have got some of those already cut, so I think we might use some of those. But let's... Do I want those two? Yeah, I think I definitely want those two. Let's stack these up. So, anyone who's watched my videos recently will know I am telling everyone, this cardstock's really thin. And so, absolutely, with stuff like this, especially because I'd added water to it, I am absolutely going to stack my die cuts up to give them a bit of sturdiness and some strength, but also I really like it. Jennifer Maguire does it with all of hers, and she doesn't use really naff thin cardstock like I'm using. She just does it because it looks cool, and she likes the dimension on the cards, and I agree. I think it does look cool, and I like the dimension on the card too. None of my cards pretty much can go through the mail without being a large letter these days. Even if they're small in size, they're usually a bit thick, shall we say. And I don't mind that. I've made the effort of making a card for someone. I don't really mind that. I'm paying that little bit more for them to get it in the post and getting a large letter, even if I do think that the price of stamps is now eye-wateringly expensive compared to how it used to be. Now, when I do this, I noticed I did it the wrong way around the first time, but I usually add the glue to the bottom piece and then stack up. And for some reason I did it the other way around on that last one, probably because I was not 100% concentrating because I was talking. Just because I find it easier to then place it on top, then pick it up and wriggle it round. It's just the way that I find it easier. So I usually start with the one that looks the least good. So that one that I chose just then, it had got a bit of ink on it, so I chose that one. And now I'm gonna add to the top of this one. Nobody needs to know that there was ink in the middle of it. And I just want a little bit more glue on the stem of that one. And then you place it on top. Because I'm using a wet glue, because it's a bit of a fiddly piece, it gives me the chance to just wriggle things into place. And if it's slightly offset, it's slightly offset, it doesn't really matter. It is a handmade card after all. But now, rather than them being flimsy, they've got that bit of sturdiness. Now, I'm not going to let these ones go to waste. Not entirely sure I like that one at all though, to be honest. But these ones, this one I like, so I'll definitely use that again at some point in the future. So I might as well stack it up now and then put it on my plate of bits and pieces to use in future. So you can see this one's got like some extra creases in it, so I'm going to use that as my bottom one. I try to go towards the edges, but I try not to put too much glue on these because I don't want it to seep out and look a bit ugly. And then I'm going to put this piece on top, which will allow me to pick it up, wriggle it around to make sure we're all beautifully lined up. There we go. And again, I'm going to add to the top of it. We don't need to put huge amounts of glue on, as I say. We don't want it to squidge out. It is literally just to hold it into place. It will absolutely, that'll be enough glue on there to glue these pieces together. And as you squidge it together, any that wasn't at the edge will probably go towards the edge, so it'll probably give it a nice firm finish. And then as I've die cut a thing for it, let's glue this one just in case. Might end up throwing it away afterwards, but it's no harm done. So I'm going to stick those over on my little tray to the side because I'm not using them now. And then I've got my nice 2 sturdy ones. Once again, just going to... Now, we definitely need something, A, to sit these in, but also to sit these on. And it might be that if we just bring in those other die cuts, that might work. Right. So what I have is a whole folder here full of die cuts. So I keep all of my scraps and then occasionally have a die cutting session. And this is the die cutting session previously that I've had with this set of dies, and then I just keep them in the folder and keep them to one side. And it's dead easy. But these are all literally just scraps, things that I've had as scraps and I chucked into a folder. In fact, I'm probably due a session here. As you can see, there's a whole mix of different colours. You can see, you can tell I've done Christmas crafting at some point. There's lots of reds and greens in there, and neutrals. And then I just go through, have a good old die cutting session. And that is, job's a good one. I've got these pieces. That means that I don't have to do everything from scratch when I die cut, when I'm making a project. So actually, just by adding in those few bits and pieces, that's provided me with a really nice sort of relief against the background. Add one more in at the front there. I think that's lovely. I do think I still want something that's just going to frame it. I'm not going to use any more of those die cuts though, so I'm now just going to pop them back in there for another use at some point. Now sometimes, again, even these very flimsy ones, I will stack them up. I'm not in this case because I think it's already going to be quite thick around that middle part. What I did just spot though is I've got a whole load of bows here. One of the bows look quite cute. Now this is different kinds of things, so I can see there that's a stamped bow that's been die cut. I'm just thinking maybe if I put a bow on. Right, I'll keep that one out just in case. So there are 2 of that colour, and I do think that stacking that might be a good idea. Let's just do that. So yeah, these are clearly from a different die set. At some point I've die cut these. I actually can't even remember which die set it is. But just these small sort of dies, and it just means that they're there, they're easy to use and to grab as and when you need them. And they're in a nice variety of colours. And they're clearly colours I like because they're ones that I've got leftover bits and pieces of cardstock that I've cut into. I just think it's a really good, easy way of just using your supplies and not having to think too much. And again, that's something else you can do when you're in a bit of a mojo funk, is just do a whole load of die cutting. In fact, that's another Jennifer Maguire video I saw fairly recently. It's definitely in 2023, of things that you can do maybe when to keep your crafting fresh, really, or when your mojo's down. I can't remember the name of the video that she put out. She has some really good ideas, but that was one of them actually, and I do that anyway. It wasn't something that was a Jennifer Maguire suggestion. I just do it because I don't like to throw away bits of cardstock. I think it's expensive, and it's just, that's what she does, is that she'll just have a die cutting session. She'll just go die cut all of her dies and then put them in little trays, and then they're there ready to use. Let's have a little bit of my herbal tea. Right, I definitely think I need something in the background, so I'm going to grab a different die. I think we're going to grab these ones that have got kind of label shapes in. Almost wondering about that. Not quite big enough. Maybe it's got to be the bigger one. So what set is this from? It's a Christmas type one, and it's called, bear with me, Seasonal Labels dies. and it's got a whole load of like leaves, including holly and stuff like that. I use it quite a lot, but these labels are really handy for just die cutting. Make yourself a panel and you can do what you want with it. So I'm going to die cut this out. I think I might be able to get away with die cutting it twice again, so I can stack it up, because probably going to guess what I'm going to say. This card's so thin, flimsy. Really am regretting buying it, but I'm finding a way to work with it, so all is not lost. Right, bear with me whilst I die cut this panel. I wasn't able to get it twice out of that piece of cardstock, so what I've done is taken some scrap. You can see it's got some text on here. It's actually quite thick cardstock, which is lovely, and I'm going to use that as the base. So just like I was doing before, I tend to glue the bottom piece, and I'm going to give it a nice good coating of my Pritt stick, and then I'm going to stick this on the top, and then it's going to give me a bit of time to wriggle round. And would you believe it, there's a right way and a wrong way, and I chose the wrong way. There we go. So it's not quite even. Who knew? First glance it was even, but actually it's not. It's deeper there than it is there. Okay, right. It's going to be nice and firm panel. Might end up inking it a bit, but let's see what this looks like. Do we want that like so? And do we want bow or not? Right, I think the answer is no, we don't want the bow. So I'm going to stick that back in the thing. That's a no-no. Right, but we do want this like so. And maybe, right, we have these little silver bows. They're like pre-tied bows. That's quite cute. Quite like that. Right, we're going with that. But I do feel like I want this to be edged a bit. So I'm just going to grab the tool that was used for inking the background in the first place. I'm not adding any more ink to it. I'm literally just using the same thing to just give that edge a bit of an inking. Perfect. Right, let's put this to one side and cut down our background panel. Now, I would like it to have the same colour scheme as that last one that I made, but I'm thinking we'll go this, then this, then that. So let's put this down just a tad. So this panel of the pattern, which I'm aware that you can't see because you're off camera at the moment, is going to end up 13.9 centimetres by 9.5 centimetres. So that should fit nicely inside this panel like so, with a nice border around. And that's fine. What I am going to do though, is just like I've just inked the edge of that, I'm just going to ink the edge of this panel, and it'll help finish it off, I think, nicely. Right, let's, like last time, because this is a very wriggly piece of paper, I don't want to add any more liquid to it of any description, so I don't want to use glue. We want to use the tape so that it's got a nice strong adhering, but not, as I say, anything wet. I think even Pritt stick would probably warp it a little bit more, and it's so warped already. We don't want any more of that. So the tape A, it allows me to get very close to the edge. but it also gives it some sort of more, a little bit of a stronger adhesive than Pritt Stick. It also allows us to just press it down, and then you know it's not going to lift up, and that will now give it a bit more strength than it had. And isn't that a beautiful background paper? It's a shame to cover it with anything, to be perfectly honest. It's so beautiful. Right, let's think about how we want to adhere this little lot. I think this is going to have to be glue. So here's my little glue bottle. Let's just follow on the cloth, tape. Right. So this is quite a delicate little die cut. I don't need it to be stuck entirely to the card background that it's on. I just need it to have enough glue to stick in place so I can then add the next layer, because the next layer is again one of those sturdier pieces, and with it being more solid I can add more glue to this, and that in itself will start to stick it down and keep it into place. So I'm just using a little bit of pressure from my fingers. This is a high tack glue, so it will stick really well. And again, this time we've got one of the more delicate ones. I'm just putting it on the, wherever the cardstock is that little bit thicker, you know, where the line art's a bit thicker, that's where I'm sticking it, but I'm not really bothered about it being perfectly stuck down in all places, because again, I'm going to go in with a more solid piece, and that will automatically start to stick it down. Now, this more solid piece is not going to be stuck here. It's going to be only the bottom half that needs to be glued, because it's already going to be raised off the surface. So there's no point in me putting glue down there. I'm fine with that being open. I'm going to just keep it like so. And then maybe, I'm not entirely sure if I want to keep that one in or not. Right, I'm just going to fiddle with this bow, even though it's a pre-made one. Doesn't mean you can't fiddle with it. It hasn't been sewn, for example. I think I just want it to be slightly smaller in terms of the bow. That's better, and then I'll cut off the ends. Right, ribbons can be fiddly sometimes, so what I'm going to do is use a glue dot, and my glue dot, if I can get the backing sheet off, will itself roll up underneath like so. But what I'm going to do is, to make sure I am doubly sure that this has glued itself down, is the glue dot will give you the instant little tack, and then the gloopy glue, the actual glue that we're using here, will make sure it dries completely solid. I am happy with that. I'm going to just trim my little ribbon tails off now, just so that they're that little bit shorter than they were, because I tightened up that bow and it became a little lopsided. And that I'm now not using, so I'm going to put that in my tray to be used at a future time. And now we need to decide, do we want to raise that up? And I think I do. So even though there's all this dimension here, I do think I want that raised up. So I've mentioned this on previous videos, I use children's fun foam. I don't use lots and lots of dimensional foam tab type things. I use children's fun foam. It's cheap, it covers larger areas, so it means it's more solid, and I don't have to sit here peeling off the ends of various bits and pieces. So I'm just going to Pritt Stick that to there. You can cut it to size, so it's perfect size. Again, I'm never really bothered about it being perfectly sized, as long as it fits behind and you can't see it from the front. That's the important part, isn't it? I think because there is quite a lot of weight on this, I am going to add a bit of gloopy glue as well as that Pritt Stick, just to make sure I'm definitely going to keep it nice and solid. Now, I think I wasn't going to go central, but I now think I am. I'm doing it central by eye. I'm not doing it with any form of measuring because that's not how I roll. Now, last video, I used a little happy birthday that I had from another project. I think I'm going to do exactly the same. Now, I also, on that last project, die cut an extra little banner. Do I want to use that? No, I don't want to use that though. I think what I might do is stick it on here, give it a border. It's in keeping with the cardstock that's there. And then probably I should use my trimmer to do this, but I'm just going to do it with my scissors. Put it down. Okay. Not perfectly straight, but it'll do. This is a handmade card after all. And I'm really happy with that. And I know that we've now covered up quite a lot of that beautiful background, but I know it's there. I'm really happy with it. It's a handmade background on the front of a beautiful card. Now this is just the card topper, it's not the actual card blank. Let's make ourselves up a card blank. It will stick to the same Rich Raspberry cardstock that we used last time. And I think we'll do another top folding card. My top folding cards, the way I do it is I always just trim it at 10.5 centimetres lengthways, and then fold it in half so that the ends meet, and use a bone folder to push it out. I am absolutely not precious about using a scoring tool or anything along those lines. That's not something I'm very good at doing. Now I'm very tempted to also raise that up. It will make it very dimensional. Or do we keep it flat? I'm thinking we raise it. Yeah, we're going to raise it. So even though that's going to make it very dimensional, I've decided I don't care. I'm just going to go for it. So what I'm going to do is stick my fun foam to the card base around about central, because I know it's much smaller than this piece. It's fine. And then I'm just going to go straight in with the other glue rather than the Pritt stick, because I know that I'm going to need it. Gives me a bit of wriggle room, time. I think we need some gems of some description. I've lost a box of gems. Oh no, I'm also having a nosebleed. Bear with me. Well, that's mildly frustrating. Does anybody else suffer from nosebleeds? I am quite hot. I am very tired. And I've used quite a lot of cleaning products in the last couple of days, so it's probably a mixture of all of those things. Just happens occasionally. Drives me mad. Because there's nothing I can do to prevent it. And I just have to wait it out a bit. Well, it has determined though that I'm definitely finishing after this card. I'm so close to finishing. Right, and you know I said I couldn't find the gem box? It was literally right in front of me. Right, has it finished? Can I safely remove the tissue, do you reckon? bad one. Sorry, when I say it's quite a bad one, it's not, and I'm not going to show you anything, and I know that it's a bit weird in the middle of the crafting video to talk about nosebleeds, but there you go. You know, you get a bit of everything with me. Okay. I think it is done. Now, do I want those pretty little pink? I think I do, because they're very pretty and they sort of pink and iridescent. So I have a rule of 5 usually when I do my embellishment-y type things, and I usually go for a 2 and then a 3. Apologies for the sniffing noise now, so I'm paranoid. Last thing I want to do is lean over my project and drip blood on it, but I actually think I'm finished anyway. The one thing I've not yet done, which I need to do, is I need to cut some card to go in the middle. Oh. So determined to finish this card before I have to go back to the bathroom and sort my nose out again. Right, so I'm just cutting it down so it's about ½ centimetre less than the card blank is. Apologies for the banging and the wobbling of the camera, that'll do. And then all I do is stick that across. Now sometimes, if I've got some bits and pieces on my desk that I want to use up, I might add them in. And in fact, that's just made me think, do you know what? Let's use that little die cut and that on the inside. Just finishes it off, doesn't it? And I wasn't determined I was going to use these at some point, so if I don't use them now, maybe I never will. But just makes them fit together. I probably wouldn't normally have stacked it if I'd have thought about it and thought about using this in the middle originally. Probably wouldn't have stacked that original bottom die cut, but I did only add 1 layer, so it's not too bad. I think that looks fine on the inside. And that is my card done. So I'm quite happy with that. It's completely different to the last one I made. Let me go and grab it again. So obviously same colour scheme, same starting point as being the resist sort of print, almost a monoprint off that other piece. But just adding in the blue and the text and stuff has completely changed that one. This is a far more delicate and pretty type one. This is a bit more of a grungy one, but all similar sorts of elements really. Right, well, given the little nosebleed calamity that I've just had, and I'm not convinced it's completely stopped, I'm going to finish now. So thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the video. No, I definitely think I've got a nosebleed again. So yes, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please do give me a thumbs up, subscribe, press the notification bell. I'm not particularly great at being routine in videoing, but I'm getting better at it this year. So far, I've done a few this year. And yeah, thank you for sticking around. And off I go to go and sort my nose out again. Never thought I'd end the video like that. Till next time, bye bye.